They said some monsters wore fur. Maximus proved them right. The French Bulldog sat in the center of Blackthorn Mansion's marble floor like a king on a throne. His muscular body tensed, his eyes burned with rage that made grown men step back. This wasn't a pet. This was a weapon. Cassius Blackthorn stood at the window of his cliffside mansion, watching the ocean crash against the rocks below. He was worth billions. He owned hotels across 3 continents. He controlled empires with a single phone call, but he couldn't control his own dog. "Sir, another trainer quit today," his assistant whispered from the doorway. Cassius didn't turn around. "That's the 7th one this month." Maximus had a reputation. He'd bitten through steel chains. He'd charged at security guards twice his size. He'd sent 3 professional dog trainers to the hospital. One of them never came back. The mansion staff moved through the halls like ghosts, terrified of the beast that ruled the estate. Maids took longer routes to avoid him. Gardeners worked outside only when Maximus was locked away. Even Cassius's business partners refused to visit anymore. "Why don't you just get rid of him?" someone once asked. Cassius's jaw tightened. "Because he's mine." But the truth was darker. Maximus reminded Cassius of himself, angry, untrusting, broken. The dog's rage mirrored the billionaire's own demons. Every failed attempt to tame Maximus felt like another failure in Cassius's life. The dog didn't just refuse to obey, he refused to love. And that drove Cassius mad. Last week, Maximus destroyed a $50,000 antique chair. Yesterday, he attacked a delivery driver who got too close to the gate. This morning, he'd cornered the housekeeper in the kitchen until she screamed for help. "He's getting worse," the assistant said quietly. Cassius finally turned from the window. His eyes were cold. "Then we find someone who can fix him." "Sir, we've tried everyone. The best trainers in the country have failed. Then we find someone better." But deep down, Cassius knew the truth. Maximus wasn't just wild. He was wounded, just like the man who owned him. The mansion felt like a prison, beautiful on the outside, broken on the inside. And somewhere in that darkness, a storm was building. Because tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, a boy would arrive at the gates. A boy no one expected. A boy who would do the impossible. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. And if you want to see what happens next, smash that like button and subscribe. This story is about to get wild. The gates shouldn't have been open, but they were. And that's when Jalen Moore walked in. The staff saw him first. A small figure moving up the long driveway. A boy, maybe 9 years old, wearing a worn jacket and sneakers that had seen better days. "Who let him in?" the head butler gasped. No one answered, because no one knew. The boy walked like he owned the place, calm, steady, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Then Maximus saw him. The dog's head snapped up, his body went rigid. A low growl rumbled from deep in his chest. The staff scattered. They knew what came next. Maximus charged. His paws thundered across the courtyard. Spit flew from his jaws. His bark was a roar that echoed off the mansion walls. "Run!" a maid screamed from the window. But Jalen didn't run. He stopped walking, stood perfectly still, and stared directly at the dog racing toward him. The staff held their breath. Maximus was 10 feet away, then 5, then 3. The boy didn't blink, and then something impossible happened. Maximus stopped. His paws skidded across the gravel, his barking cut off mid-sound. He stood there, chest heaving, eyes locked on the boy. But he didn't attack. Jalen tilted his head slightly, like he was studying the dog, like he was seeing something no one else could. "He's going to die," the maid whispered, her hand covering her mouth. But Jalen didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even look scared. He just stood there, waiting. Maximus's ears twitched, his muscles trembled. His jaw was still tight, teeth bared, but he didn't move forward. The boy took one slow step closer. The staff gasped. "What is he doing?" someone hissed. Maximus growled again, but this time it was different, softer, almost confused. Jalen's voice was quiet, so quiet the staff couldn't hear the words, but Maximus heard them. The dog's head lowered slightly. His tail stopped wagging in anger, and for the first time in years, Maximus didn't look like a monster. He looked like a scared animal. Cassius Blackthorne appeared on the balcony above, his face twisted in shock. "Who the hell is that kid?" No one answered, because no one knew. But they all saw the same thing. A boy standing face to face with the most dangerous dog in the city, and the dog wasn't attacking. Jalen reached out his hand, slowly, palm open. The staff held their breath. Maximus stared at the hand. His eyes flickered between rage and something else, something broken. And then, inch by inch, the boy moved closer. "This is impossible," the butler whispered. But it was happening, right in front of their eyes. Comment below where you're watching from. And if you think Jalen's about to do the impossible, hit that like button. You won't believe what happens next. The courtyard had never been this quiet. Not in years. Maximus stood frozen. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His eyes locked on the boy who shouldn't be here. Jalen took another step forward. The staff watched from windows and doorways, too terrified to move, too shocked to speak. "Someone stop him," a gardener whispered desperately. But no one moved, because no one wanted to get between that boy and that dog. Maximus's lips curled back. His teeth gleamed in the afternoon sun. A growl rumbled from somewhere deep inside him, low, dangerous, promising violence. Jalen didn't stop walking. "He's insane," the maid breathed. Cassius gripped the balcony railing, his knuckles white. "What is he doing?" The boy was close now, so close that Maximus could strike in a heartbeat. One lunge, one bite, and it would be over. The dog's muscles coiled, ready to explode. Jalen stopped, just 3 feet away. They stared at each other, boy and beast, silence and fury. Then Jalen did something no one expected. He knelt down, eye level with the dog. The staff gasped. "Get up!" someone shouted from the window. But Jalen stayed down, his eyes never leaving Maximus's face. The dog's growl grew louder. His body trembled with rage. Every instinct screamed at him to attack. But something held him back. Jalen's voice was soft, gentle. "I see you." 3 words. That's all he said. And Maximus froze. His growl stuttered, then stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. The wind stopped blowing. Birds stopped singing. Even the ocean seemed to hold its breath. Maximus's eyes changed. The fire dimmed. The rage flickered. And for just a moment, the dog looked lost. Jalen didn't reach out, didn't try to touch him. He just stayed there, kneeling, waiting. "What's happening?" the butler whispered. No one knew. Maximus took one small step back, then another. His ears flattened against his head, his tail lowered. He wasn't attacking. He wasn't charging. He wasn't even growling anymore. He was backing down. The staff couldn't believe it. 7 trainers had failed. Dozens of experts had tried. Thousands of dollars wasted. And this boy, this 9-year-old kid with no training, no tools, no plan, had done what no one else could. He'd made Maximus stop. Cassius's voice cut through the silence. "Who is he?" No one answered, because the real question wasn't who Jalen was. It was what he knew, what he saw in that dog that no one else could see. Jalen stood slowly, his movements calm, controlled. Maximus watched him, but didn't move. The boy turned and walked toward the mansion entrance, and Maximus followed, not charging, not attacking, just following, like a shadow. The staff scattered as Jalen walked through the door, Maximus at his heels, silent, obedient. Cassius stood frozen on the balcony, his mind racing. "Find out everything about that boy," he ordered. "Now." Because whatever just happened wasn't normal. It was impossible. Cassius Blackthorne didn't lose control. Ever. He built his first company at 23, sold it for $50 million at 26. By 30, he owned half the tech industry. Everything he touched turned to gold. Except Maximus. He stood in his study now, watching through the window as that boy walked his dog like it was nothing. Like years of failure meant nothing. His jaw clenched. Cassius was 8 years old when his father taught him the rules. Emotion is weakness. Control is power. Never let anything break you. He never forgot those words. They made him rich. They made him ruthless. They made him untouchable. But they also made him empty. He poured himself a drink. The amber liquid burned going down. Maximus was supposed to be different. A companion. Something alive in this cold mansion. Something that didn't want his money or his power. But the dog rejected him from day one. Cassius tried everything. Expensive trainers who promised miracles. Behaviorists with decades of experience. Even a celebrity dog whisperer who flew in from Europe. They all failed. And each failure cut deeper than the last. Because Maximus wasn't just a dog anymore. He was a mirror. Wild. Angry. Refusing to trust anyone. Just like Cassius. "Sir, we have information on the boy," his assistant said from the doorway. Cassius turned. "Tell me." "His name is Jalen Moore, 9 years old, lives with his grandmother in the housing projects downtown. No father. Mother passed away 2 years ago." Cassius's eyes narrowed. "How did he get past security?" "We don't know. The cameras show nothing. One moment the gates were locked. The next, he was inside." Impossible. But Cassius had just watched this boy do the impossible with Maximus. "What else?" The assistant hesitated. "There's something odd, sir. People in his neighborhood call him the boy who understands. Apparently, he has a way with animals. Strays follow him. Aggressive dogs calm down around him. No one knows how he does it." Cassius set his glass down hard. "I want him brought to me. Now." "Sir, he's already here. Downstairs. With Maximus." Cassius's heart pounded. "What?" He walked straight into the mansion. The staff didn't stop him. And Maximus is lying at his feet. Lying at his feet. The dog that terrorized an entire estate. The beast that sent grown men running. The animal that Cassius couldn't break after years of trying. Was lying at a child's feet. Cassius's hands shook. Not from fear. From something worse. Jealousy. This boy had done in minutes what Cassius couldn't do in years. He walked to the door. Stopped. Took a breath. Control. Always control. But as he headed down the stairs, one thought burned in his mind. Who was this kid? And what did he have that a billionaire didn't? The answer terrified him. Because deep down, Cassius already knew. Jalen had something money couldn't buy. Something Cassius lost a long time ago. His humanity. "Where are you watching from? Drop your location below. If this story is hitting different, smash that like and subscribe button. I value your conversation. The courtyard felt different now, like the air itself had changed. Jalen stood perfectly still, his hand extended, palm up, fingers relaxed, not demanding, just offering. Maximus stared at that hand, his chest still heaving, his muscles still tight. But something was shifting. The staff watched from behind glass doors, hearts racing, hands covering mouths. He's going to lose that hand, someone whispered. But Jalen didn't pull back. He waited. Maximus's nose twitched. He sniffed the air. Once, twice. His growl faded to a low rumble, then to nothing. Silence filled the space between boy and beast. Jalen's voice was barely a whisper. You're not mean. You're just scared. The dog's ears flickered. Everyone sees a monster, but I see you. Maximus took one small step forward, then stopped. His eyes searched Jalen's face, looking for the lie, the trick, the trap. But there was nothing. Just a boy. Just honesty. Jalen stayed kneeling, eye level, vulnerable. Any other trainer would have stood tall, shown dominance, demanded respect. But Jalen did the opposite. He made himself small, safe. Maximus's tail stopped thrashing. It lowered, not tucked in fear, just neutral. The staff couldn't believe what they were seeing. Is he hypnotizing the dog? The butler muttered. No, this was something else. Jalen spoke again. Soft, gentle. Nobody asks what hurts you. They just want you to stop hurting them. Maximus's head tilted, like he was listening, really listening. But I'm asking, what hurts? The dog's eyes changed. The fire dimmed, and beneath it, something raw appeared. Pain. Jalen saw it. Everyone else had been too busy running to notice. Maximus wasn't angry. He was broken. The boy's hand stayed extended, patient, no pressure. And then Maximus moved, one paw forward, then another. The staff held their breath. The dog closed the distance, inch by inch. His massive head lowered toward Jalen's hand. Don't do it, someone whispered. But Maximus didn't bite. His nose touched Jalen's palm, cold, wet. He sniffed. Once, twice, 3 times. Then something miraculous happened. Maximus leaned his head into the boy's hand. Just a little. Just enough. Jalen's fingers gently scratched behind the dog's ear. Maximus's eyes closed. For the first time in years, the beast looked peaceful. The staff gasped. Some covered their mouths. Others wiped tears. Cassius stood at the top of the stairs, frozen. He'd spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, hired the best trainers in the world, used every method known to man. And this boy, this 9-year-old kid with nothing, had broken through in minutes. Jalen stood slowly. Maximus stayed close, not threatening, not aggressive, just there. The boy turned toward the mansion, and without a word, Maximus followed. No leash, no commands, no force, just trust, something Cassius had never given him. As they walked past, Maximus glanced up at Cassius on the stairs, and for a split second, the billionaire saw something in his dog's eyes he'd never seen before. Hope. Jalen didn't look at Cassius. He just kept walking. Maximus at his side, like they'd known each other forever. The staff parted like water, stunned, silent. And Cassius realized something terrifying. This boy wasn't just taming his dog. He was exposing everything Cassius had done wrong. Maximus sat, just sat, like a normal dog. The staff couldn't process it. Their brains refused to accept what their eyes were seeing. This was the same dog that destroyed furniture. The same beast that sent trainers to the hospital. The same monster that ruled the mansion with terror. And now he sat, calm, quiet, at a boy's feet. Jalen knelt beside him, his hand resting gently on Maximus's back. "I won't hurt you," he whispered. "I understand you." Maximus's ears twitched, his eyes closed halfway. For the first time in years, he looked tired. Not angry tired, soul tired. Like he'd been fighting for so long, he forgot what peace felt like. Jalen's voice was barely audible. "Everyone wants you to be different, but I like you the way you are." The dog's body relaxed, his shoulders dropped, his breathing slowed. No one had ever said that to him before. Every trainer came with demands. Be calm, be obedient, be controllable. But Jalen didn't demand anything. He just accepted. The maid watching from the window started crying. She didn't know why. She just felt something break inside her chest. "How is he doing this?" the butler whispered. No one answered, because no one understood. This wasn't training. This wasn't dominance. This wasn't even skill. This was connection. Pure, simple, human. Jalen scratched behind Maximus's ear. The dog leaned into his touch. A soft sound escaped his throat. Not a growl. Something gentler. Almost like a sigh. "You've been angry for so long," Jalen said softly. "But you're just scared. Scared of being hurt again." Maximus's eyes opened. He looked at the boy, and in that look, something passed between them. Recognition. Because Jalen knew that fear. He'd felt it too. When his mother died. When the world turned cold. When people stopped seeing him as a kid and started seeing him as a problem. He understood what it meant to build walls. To push people away before they could leave first. Maximus had those same walls. "I see you," Jalen whispered, "and I'm not going anywhere." The dog's tail moved. Not a wag, just a small shift. But it was enough. Cassius descended the stairs slowly, his expensive shoes clicking against marble. He stopped a few feet away, staring. Maximus glanced at him, but didn't growl, didn't tense, didn't prepare to attack. He just looked, then looked back at Jalen, choosing, and he didn't choose his owner. Cassius's chest tightened, his hands clenched into fists. Years of trying, years of money, years of failure. And this boy walked in and won his dog's trust in minutes. "How did you do it?" Cassius's voice was rough, almost broken. Jalen looked up. His eyes met the billionaire's. "I didn't try to fix him," he said simply. "I just loved him." 4 words. 4 words that destroyed everything Cassius thought he knew. He'd been trying to fix Maximus, control him, break him, mold him into something acceptable. But Jalen didn't fix anything. He just loved. And love did what force never could. Maximus lay down completely, his head resting on his paws, his eyes closing, at peace. The staff watched in silence. Some wiped tears. Others just stood frozen, because they weren't just watching a dog calm down. They were watching a miracle. Cassius turned away, his jaw tight, his eyes burning. He couldn't watch anymore, because that boy had something Cassius lost long ago, and he didn't know if he could ever get it back. Cassius stood at his study window, watching, always watching. Below, in the courtyard, that boy sat with his dog. Maximus's head rested in Jalen's lap. Peaceful, content, like they'd known each other for years. Cassius's reflection stared back at him in the glass. Cold, hard, successful. Everything he'd worked for, everything he'd built. And none of it mattered, because a 9-year-old kid had just proven him worthless. He poured another drink, his third or fourth. He'd stopped counting. The amber liquid burned, but not enough. Nothing could burn away what he was feeling. Failure. Pure. Complete. Humiliating failure. He'd built towers that touched the sky, companies worth billions, an empire that made world leaders return his calls, but he couldn't earn the trust of one dog. His dog. Cassius slammed the glass down. It cracked but didn't break. How? He whispered to the empty room. How did that boy do it? He had nothing. No money, no power. No training, no credentials, just himself. And somehow that was enough. Cassius had tried everything. The best trainers money could buy, specialists who worked with military dogs, behaviorists with PhDs. They all said the same thing. The dog is broken. Give up. But Cassius refused, because giving up meant admitting defeat, and Cassius Blackthorne never admitted defeat. Until now. He watched Jalen laugh as Maximus rolled onto his back. The dog, his dog, was playing. Actually playing. When was the last time Maximus played? Cassius couldn't remember, because it never happened. Not with him. The truth hit him like a freight train. Maximus didn't hate people. Maximus hated him. Or maybe not hate. Maybe something worse. Maybe Maximus was afraid of him. The thought made Cassius sick. He'd spent his whole life demanding respect. Forcing loyalty. Controlling everything and everyone around him. His father taught him well. Emotion is weakness. Control is strength. So Cassius controlled. He dominated. He commanded. And he ended up alone, in a mansion filled with people who feared him, with a dog who couldn't stand to be near him, with a life that looked perfect from the outside but felt hollow inside. Jalen had none of that. No control, no power, no fear tactics, just kindness, and kindness won. Cassius's hands shook, not from anger, from something deeper, regret. He thought about all the times he'd yelled at Maximus, yanked his chain, forced him into submission. He thought he was being strong, but he was just being cruel, like his father was cruel to him. The cycle continued. Pain passed down, control masking fear, and Maximus paid the price. "I'm sorry," Cassius whispered to his reflection, but sorry didn't fix anything. Sorry didn't heal years of damage. Sorry didn't give him back what that boy had in minutes. Connection. Real. Honest. Human connection. He looked at Jalen again. The boy was teaching Maximus a game, rolling a ball. The dog chased it, brought it back. Simple. Pure. Joyful. Cassius felt something crack inside his chest. When was the last time he felt joy? When was the last time anyone looked at him the way Maximus looked at Jalen? With trust, with love, with safety. Never. The answer was never. Because Cassius never offered those things. He offered control, money, power, but never love. And now he was paying the price. A billionaire, alone in his mansion, watching a poor kid do what he never could. Be human. Cassius turned from the window, his throat tight, his eyes burning. He'd built an empire, but he'd lost himself, and he didn't know if he could ever get back. Be honest. When's the last time you hit that like button? When's the last time you actually subscribed? If this story is touching you, don't just watch and leave. Show some love. We work hard to bring you this content. Drop where you're watching from and subscribe now, because what happened next is going to flip everything upside down. The study door slammed open. Cassius stormed out, his face twisted with rage, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. Enough. He'd watched long enough, stayed silent long enough, lost control long enough. This was his house, his estate, his dog, and he was taking it all back. His footsteps echoed through the marble halls. Staff scattered as he passed. They knew that look, that walk. Someone was about to get hurt. Cassius burst into the courtyard. The afternoon sun hit his face, but he didn't feel it. All he saw was red. "This is my estate!" His voice boomed across the space. "This is my dog!" The staff froze. Jalen looked up slowly. Maximus's head snapped toward Cassius, and then something happened that no one expected. Maximus stood, but not to greet his owner, not to submit, not to obey. He moved between Cassius and Jalen, his body blocking the boy, protective. Cassius stopped dead, his breath caught in his throat. "Maximus, come here, now." His voice was steel, command, authority, the same voice that made CEOs sweat, that made competitors surrender, that built an empire. But Maximus didn't move. He stood firm, his eyes locked on Cassius, and then he growled. At him, at his owner. The staff gasped. Hands flew to mouths. Someone whispered a prayer. Cassius's face went pale, then red, then purple. "I said come here!" He stepped forward. Maximus's growl deepened. His lips curled back, teeth showing, warning him, threatening him. Cassius froze, his heart pounding, his mind spinning. His own dog, protecting a stranger, against him. "You can't be serious," Cassius breathed. But Maximus was dead serious. Jalen placed a gentle hand on the dog's back. "It's okay," he whispered. Maximus glanced at him, then back at Cassius, still protective, still ready. Cassius felt something break inside him, not anger anymore, something worse, betrayal. "I saved you," he said, his voice shaking. "I brought you home. I fed you. I gave you everything." Maximus didn't budge. "And this is how you repay me? By choosing some random kid over me?" Jalen stood slowly. His voice was calm, steady. "He's not choosing me over you." Cassius's eyes snapped to the boy. "Then what is he doing?" "He's protecting me from you." The words hit like a bullet. The courtyard went silent. Cassius's mouth opened, closed. No words came. "He's scared of you," Jalen continued softly. "Not because you're strong, because you hurt him." "I never laid a hand on him." "You didn't have to." Jalen's eyes met Cassius's, and the billionaire saw something there he didn't expect. Pity. This child pitied him. "You hurt him every time you got angry," Jalen said. "Every time you yelled. Every time you treated him like a problem to fix instead of a friend to love." Cassius's chest heaved. His hands trembled. "He doesn't hate you, Mr. Blackthorne. He's just scared. And right now, he thinks you're going to hurt me too." The staff watched in stunned silence. A 9-year-old boy was lecturing a billionaire, and the billionaire had no response. Cassius looked at Maximus, really looked at him. The dog's eyes were locked on his, not with hate, not with rage, with fear, pure, simple, fear of him. Cassius took a step back, then another. Maximus relaxed slightly, but stayed between them. "I don't understand," Cassius whispered. Jalen's voice was gentle. "That's the problem, sir. You never did." The words hung in the air, heavy, true, cutting. Cassius turned away, his shoulders sagging. For the first time in his life, he felt small, powerless, defeated, not by a competitor, not by the market, not by failure, by a dog who chose a poor kid over a rich man, because love beat money, every single time. If you're still here, you're real. Drop A and tell us where you're from. Hit the subscribe button too. Cassius stood in the middle of his courtyard, surrounded by wealth, by power, by everything he'd ever wanted, and he'd never felt more empty. His chest burned, his throat closed, his vision blurred. Rage, confusion, shame, all swirling together like a storm he couldn't control. He'd conquered industries, crushed competitors, built an empire from nothing, and a 9-year-old boy just destroyed him with kindness. "This isn't possible," he muttered. But it was happening, right in front of him. Maximus still stood between him and Jalen, still protecting, still choosing, not choosing wealth, not choosing power, choosing love. Cassius's hands shook. "I gave you everything." His voice cracked, raw, desperate. "I built you a custom kennel. I hired the best trainers. I bought you the finest food. What more could you want?" Maximus didn't answer. Dogs don't speak. But his silence said everything. None of that mattered. Jalen stepped forward, his voice soft. "He doesn't want things, Mr. Blackthorne. He wants you." "He has me. I'm right here." "No, sir. He has your anger, your frustration, your control, but he doesn't have you." The words cut deeper than any business loss, any failed deal, any competitor's victory, because they were true. Cassius thought back to every interaction with Maximus, every moment, yelling when he chewed furniture, yanking his chain when he pulled, locking him away when guests came, always controlling, never connecting, just like his father did to him. The memory hit like a freight train, his father's voice, cold, hard. "You don't cuddle dogs, Cassius. You train them. You show them who's boss." So that's what Cassius did. He showed Maximus who was boss, and Maximus hated him for it. Cassius's knees went weak. He stumbled back, caught himself against a stone pillar. "I don't know how to be different," he whispered. Jalen walked closer. Maximus watched but didn't growl. "You can learn," the boy said gently. "I've tried." "No, sir. You tried to fix him. You never tried to understand him." Cassius looked at Jalen, really looked at him. This kid had nothing. Worn clothes, scuffed shoes, probably lived in a place smaller than Cassius's closet. But he had something Cassius lost decades ago. Heart. "How do you do it?" Cassius's voice broke. "How do you just know?" Jalen shrugged. "I don't know anything special. I just listen." "Listen to what? He doesn't talk." "He talks all the time, sir. You just weren't listening." Cassius felt tears burn his eyes. He blinked them back. Hard. Blackthorns don't cry. But the dam was breaking. "I built all of this." He gestured at the mansion, at everything. "For what? So my own dog could hate me?" "He doesn't hate you." "Then why won't he come to me?" Jalen's answer was simple, devastating. "Because you never gave him a reason to trust you." The truth landed like a bomb. Cassius slid down the pillar, sat on the ground, head in his hands, a billionaire, broken, on his own estate. Everything he built meant nothing, because he built it on the wrong foundation: control, power, fear, but never love. And love was the only thing that mattered. The staff watched in shock, their untouchable boss, crumbling. Jalen knelt beside him. "It's not too late." Cassius looked up, his eyes red. His face broken. "How do I fix this?" "You don't fix it. You feel it." "I don't understand." "Stop trying to control him. Just be with him." Cassius looked at Maximus. The dog watched him, still cautious, still uncertain. But maybe not hopeless. "Can I try?" Cassius's voice was barely a whisper. Jalen nodded, stood back. Cassius stayed sitting, vulnerable, low, non-threatening. "Maximus," he said softly, different than before, gentler. "I'm sorry." 2 words he'd never said to anyone. The dog's ears twitched. I didn't know how to love you. I only knew how to control you. Maximus took one small step forward. Cassius's heart pounded. I can't promise I'll be perfect, but I'll try. I'll really try. Another step. The courtyard held its breath, and then Maximus walked to him, slowly, carefully, and sat down, right in front of him. Not hostile, just there. Cassius reached out, trembling. His hand touched Maximus's head. The dog didn't flinch, and Cassius broke. Tears fell, shoulders shook, a lifetime of control shattered. But for the first time in decades, he felt alive. The sun began to set over Blackthorn Mansion. Golden light painted the courtyard. Long shadows stretched across marble floors, and everything had changed. Cassius sat on the ground, his expensive suit dusty, his perfect hair messy, his armor cracked. Maximus lay beside him, not tense, not afraid, just there. Jalen stood a few feet away, watching, smiling softly. The staff remained frozen, witnesses to something they'd never forget. A billionaire, humbled by a dog, taught by a child. Cassius's hand rested on Maximus's fur. The dog's breathing was steady, calm. I spent my whole life building walls, Cassius said quietly. I thought that's what strength was. Jalen sat down across from him. Walls keep people out, but they also keep you in. Cassius nodded, his throat tight. I was so afraid of being weak, of losing control, of being like my father. What was your father like? Cold, hard. He taught me that emotion was weakness, that love made you vulnerable. And you believed him? Cassius looked at Maximus. I didn't have a choice. If I showed emotion, he punished me. So I learned to bury it, to control everything, to never let anyone close. Even Maximus. Especially Maximus. Cassius's voice cracked. Because I wanted him to love me, and I was terrified he wouldn't. Jalen's eyes were wise beyond his years. So you tried to force it? Yes. And I lost him anyway. The courtyard was quiet, only the sound of wind through trees. Maximus shifted. His head rested on Cassius's leg. The billionaire froze, looked down. His eyes filled with tears. He's giving you another chance, Jalen said softly. Cassius's hand trembled as he stroked the dog's head. I don't deserve it. Maybe not, but he's giving it anyway. Why? Because dogs don't hold grudges. They just want to be loved. Cassius broke again, tears falling freely now. All the years, all the pain, all the control, melting away. Jalen stood. I should go. My grandma will be worried. Wait. Cassius looked up. How did you know? How did you know what he needed? Jalen smiled. Sad, but warm. Because I needed it too. When my mom died, everyone tried to fix me. Make me stop crying. Make me move on. But my grandma just held me. She didn't try to fix anything. She just loved me. And that's what you did for Maximus. Yes, sir. I just loved him. Those 3 words. So simple. So powerful. Cassius stood slowly. Maximus stood with him. Close. Not cowering. Not aggressive. Just present. Thank you, Cassius said, his voice thick with emotion. You saved him. And you saved me. Jalen nodded, started walking toward the gate. Cassius watched him go. This 9-year-old boy who changed everything. Jalen, the boy turned. If you ever need anything, anything at all, you know where to find me. Jalen grinned. Just be good to him, Mr. Blackthorn. That's all I need. And then he was gone. Through the gate, down the driveway, into the sunset. Cassius looked down at Maximus. The dog looked back. And for the first time, Cassius saw himself clearly. He'd built an empire, made billions, conquered industries, but he'd never had control. Not really, because control was an illusion. Love was the only real power, and it couldn't be bought, forced, or demanded. It could only be given, freely, honestly, bravely. The staff slowly returned to their duties, whispering, crying, changed. Cassius walked back into his mansion, Maximus at his side, not behind him, not pulling away, beside him. Equal, trusted, loved. The world would never know what happened in that courtyard, but everyone who witnessed it would carry it forever, because they saw something rare, something beautiful, something true. They saw a man lose everything and find himself. Now answer me this. Who really had the power in this story? The billionaire with everything, or the boy with nothing? Drop your answer below. And be honest, have you ever tried to control someone when you should have just loved them? Comment your story, hit that like, subscribe, and tell me, where are you watching from? This is the content that changes lives. Don't just watch and leave. Be part of the movement.